So I seem to be one of the few people in the world that doesn't have the strongest opinion about Jonathan Kuminga. Some people believe he's a superstar being held back. Other people believe he's trash. I'm somewhere in the middle. I'm someone that believes he's a useful player and can be extremely useful to this Warriors team. But I also understand Steve Kerr not wanting to play him, not wanting to play people that don't fit your version of basketball. I get that as well. And if all you're going to ask from Kuminga is to be a role player, then why would you really need to play Kuminga, right? If you just want Kuminga to play defense, set some screens, roll hard, hit an occasional three-point shot, rebound the ball, right? If that's all you want him to do, which is a lot, by the way, but if that's all you want him to do, then yeah, I kind of get why you don't play him. I get why you play a GP2 over Kuminga, and Kuminga has been very unfortunate in the times he gets injured, right? Because there's been moments where it seemed like he was about to take off, he gets injured, he comes back to a completely different team. First, it was the Draymond Green suspension. Kuminga kind of took off during that time. Draymond comes back. Of course, Kuminga's role, scales down. Wiggins has to miss time attending his father. Kuminga is balling out. Wiggins comes back like a day before the play-in. They end up losing to the Kings in the play-in that year. Kuminga doesn't play in that game. He might have played a couple minutes, but didn't really play in that game. And I believe the years prior, they were actually winning games while Kuminga was playing well. Now this year, Kuminga really took off in December, but they weren't winning games. Now, you can make it a direct causation if you want to. I'm not going to make it that black and white, but Kuminga scored more. They were losing more. I don't think that's what it was. I think Steph Curry was slumping. Steph also got hurt for a little bit of that time. Buddy Hield forgot how to shoot. You guys remember that? He started the season on fire, then just stopped shooting the ball well. So there was a lot going on there, but I say all that to say, in December, he averages 21 points per game. He gets hurt in January, and then he comes back to a team that now has Jimmy Butler. So once again, this guy has been asked to change his role consistently throughout his career, which is not something that's foreign to NBA players, right? Having to adjust your role. But as you're a young player trying to develop and trying to see yourself as this star player, and you see the moments where you're kind of proving you can do it, and then having to scale it back all the way down, I can see how that could be difficult for a Jonathan Kuminga. Like, really think about it. He went from having Clay and Jordan Poole to having Chris Paul to having Jimmy Butler, and he's still trying to develop as a scoring option alongside all of these players. Again, I don't believe Kuminga is this superstar player, but I do believe he's going to be extremely helpful, and I do believe the Warriors are going to end up keeping him, because if you really look at it, and again, we've been proven time and time again that Steve Kerr, at least, maybe not Joe Lacob, maybe not Mike Dunleavy, but Steve Kerr at least doesn't view the best version of this Warriors team with Kuminga. Like, he's getting DMPs in the playoffs. Like, he doesn't believe in Kuminga at all. So maybe I'm crazy for even getting to this point, but I believe he's going to be there, and I believe if he's there, he's going to play hard. And while I don't think Steve Kerr is going to want to play him, but when I look at this roster, what are they actually missing? And this has always been the problem with Kuminga. Like, if he was this lockdown defender, he would play. If he was this lockdown defender, he would not be getting DMP'd for GP2, right? But if you look at what the Warriors need, in my opinion, is they need wing defense and they need downhill scoring. Now, you may argue they need a backup point guard. You may argue they need a starting level center. We can kind of have that debate, right? They got Steph Curry, they got Jimmy Butler, they got Pods. That's kind of like your point guards right there. Obviously, Jimmy's not a point guard. They got Draymond. The Warriors do it their way, right? Which is kind of this whole conversation. They do it their way. They don't want a big, right? They got Quentin Post, they got Al Horford. Hopefully they get Al Horford, right? So let's take that out of consideration. If you look at this team, they are extremely small on the wing, and the reported Kings trade had to send either Moody or Buddy Hield with Kuminga to get Malik Monk in the first round pick. To me, any Warriors fan doing that, I don't see, unless there's another move coming. That's kind of crazy to me. And maybe I'm a bigger believer in Moody, and Buddy Hield and Jimmy Butler have their little bromance going on, so I don't think they want to get rid of that. But the idea of sending Moody and Kuminga for Malik Monk is crazy, and I really like Malik Monk. But if you look at Moody on this team, you're probably thinking, okay, you're going to have Malik Monk, you're going to have Podge, you're going to have Buddy Hield, you might have DeAnthony Melton. You don't really need another two on this team. But on this team, Moody is their 3. And the whole position discussion is kind of tied into why Kuminga hasn't been able to find his role on this team, because Steve Kerr has been adamant in telling us that Kuminga is not a 3, he's a 4, right? And the Warriors have Draymond, who's a 4, Jimmy Butler at this point in his NBA career is more of a 4, which I think is kind of what was going on in Miami, because I think we're going to see Bam progress more and more as a 4 throughout his career. So I think that marriage kind of ran its course a little bit. But right now on the Warriors, let's say the Warriors don't bring back Kuminga. The only players they have that can play the 3 are Jimmy Butler and Moses Moody. So when I look at that, I see minutes for Kuminga at the 3, with Jimmy Butler spending a lot of time at 4, with Draymond spending a lot of time at 5, with Moody spending a lot of time at 2, right? There's going to be minutes available for Kuminga at the 3. And I think one of the biggest reservations Steve Kerr had about playing Kuminga at the 3 before was he was always paired with, not always, but a lot of times paired with Kevon Looney or paired with Trayce Jackson-Davis. And if you go back and look at if you look at the moments where Kuminga shares the court with Trayce Jackson-Davis, it's kind of like, why is he even out there? Because Trayce Jackson-Davis is in a dunker spot where Kuminga would thrive. Trayce Jackson-Davis is rolling to the rim where Kuminga would thrive. So it didn't really make sense to have both of them out there at the same time. Obviously, Looney's going to clog up the court, but that brings us to now where, assume they get Al Horford, right? You have Al Horford and Quentin Post, 2 of the best spacing 5s in the NBA, now allows Kuminga to thrive more at the 3. Because if we go Kuminga, Draymond, Al Horford instead of Kuminga, Draymond, Trayce Jackson-Davis, or Kuminga, Draymond, Looney, now Kuminga gets to live in the paint in those lineups where he couldn't with the non-shooting bigs. And now having Jimmy Butler instead of Andrew Wiggins hurts the spacing a little bit, or a lot of bit, right? But it improves the playmaking on the team. So there would be times where you have Draymond, Wiggins, Kuminga, and let's say Pods, Moody. Just not enough playmaking on the court. Now if you have Draymond, Jimmy Butler, Pods, Moody, Kuminga in a lineup, right? You got a bunch of guys that can find Kuminga. This would actually be the best team the Warriors have had to complement the skill set of Kuminga. And he would also get, obviously depending on Steve Kerr, you would think he would also get some creation opportunities because they don't really have a lot of creation on this team outside of Steph, Jimmy Butler, and Pods to a certain degree. They will leave room a little bit for Kuminga to explore his game. Nothing crazy, but then when you look at it also, Steph Curry played how many games last year? 76 games last year. I don't think it's going to be that high again. We know Jimmy Butler's going to miss time. We know Draymond's going to miss time. Al Horford is older. Like, these guys are going to miss time, and you want someone else that could kind of take over when they miss time, and maybe that's when you let Kuminga rock out and maybe even improve his trade value. And that's the other thing. The Warriors are not going to trade Kuminga for a player that gives them a higher ceiling. Now, maybe you believe that their floor is so high that they don't need that. I like this Warriors team. I think they'd be a good team even without Kuminga, but I don't believe their floor is that high, if that makes any sense, right? A team like Denver, their floor is extremely high to the point where maybe you don't want to add the wild card variable. Maybe it's not worth it for a team that has Jokic. Maybe you just want to be a decent team, give yourself a chance. I don't think the Warriors are at that level. They need the variance. They need the upside of a Kuminga, in my opinion, right? So I don't think they're trading for a player that can provide much more upside than the better version of Kuminga, who's in a great situation to really showcase his skill set on this team. But also, if the plan is still to move Kuminga, they're not trading for an asset that's going to be more valuable than Kuminga. At least I don't think so. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but I just feel like if you look at this team, what do they need? And the likelihood of Kuminga providing that is kind of high. I'm not saying it's absolute, but Kuminga actually becoming the player he could be would be the thing to put this team over the top. And I don't think they're at a place where they should give up on that potential, right? It's not saying he's going to be a superstar, but the idea of him being a great downhill scorer, perimeter defender, putting pressure on the rim, that's all they really need from him. And if he can give them, 15 points per game, great efficiency and decent defense, that's all this team really needs. They need that one more score, and they need athleticism on the wing, and he can be that, right? Which brings me to the last point I want to make. And people always talk about Kuminga like, oh, he just wants to be Kobe, he wants a team built around him, all that, yada, 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 right? And some recent stuff has came out, I think, from his agent about how he wants to be prioritized, all that. Now, I believe he's saying that. I believe there's a part of that that is absolutely true, because what young player wouldn't want to be that, right? So I get that. I think there's a little bit of truth to it, but I just feel like that's such a lame thing to say and such a disingenuous thing to say that, oh, he just wants to be Kobe, man, he can't play any. No, I think Kuminga wants to play, right? There's a big difference between wanting to be Kobe and getting DMPs in the playoffs. I think there's a big difference. I think Kuminga, if he had a consistent role over the last 3 years, we wouldn't be in this position. I don't think he thought from day one, this is my team, right? Steph Curry, hand over the keys. I don't think Kuminga has been on that at all. I think Kuminga just wants to play basketball. And I believe he wants to be in a situation that isn't gonna hold him back from being a star for sure, right? I scored 20 points, DNP, right? I think he wants to be in a situation where that's not the case. But I don't think he ever said, it's really time to start building around me in Golden State. I don't think that has been the discussion at all. And I think it's so lame for the media members that paint him in that light when the kid just wants to play basketball. I think it's really that simple. He wants to play for a coach that believes in him. He wants to play for a coach that sees the potential in him. I don't think that's crazy. I don't think he's been selfish. I don't think he's been any of that. And it's just very, very lame of certain media members that push that narrative. But all in all, I believe Kuminga will be back. The Warriors, they're supposed to be this great organization that can handle controversy like this. I think that's a little bit overstated given some of the things that have happened in the past, but this is supposed to be a situation with great veteran leadership, Hall of Fame coach, right? They're supposed to be able to work through this, so let's give them that grace and belief that they can do that. Last year, Kuminga played 1,144 minutes, right? If you look at it, 414 of those minutes came with Kevon Looney, no spacing on the court. Another 218 of those minutes came with Trayce Jackson-Davis on the court. With Al Horford, Quentin Post next year, that's gonna be a lot different. The game's gonna be a lot easier for Kuminga to get to where he wants to get. He actually only played 63 minutes with Quentin Post last year, and he was kind of atrocious in those 63 minutes, but we're not gonna hold that to him too much. Actually, what was going on? Looking at the stats here, this is very irrelevant, but I just find it's not irrelevant, right? But I'm a little bit flustered here because I just looked up and seen that Kuminga in those 63 minutes put up 6 assists per game per 36. So that kind of just took me aback right now. I'm like, what is going on here? What was going on in that 63 minutes that Kuminga was diming like that? Only 2 turnovers too, by the way. But they played 12 games together and only managed to play 63 minutes together. But now I'm fascinated to see what was happening in those minutes. I'm gonna go back and watch those minutes, because 6 assists for Kuminga is crazy. Maybe that's even showing us more that if the floor is spaced, Kuminga could do more off the dribble. Like, he shot terribly in these minutes. He shot 38% from the field. So I don't know what was going on there. I want to go watch those games now. But I think Kuminga is in a great position on this team. If Steve Kerr can be the people person coach that we all believe he is, if Steph Curry can be the best leader in the NBA that people believe he is, then this should be able to work out. They should be able to fight through it, get through the awkwardness, and provide a situation for Kuminga to thrive in, because it's really set up that way. And as much as Steve Kerr doesn't like it, they kind of need what he does, especially considering that Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler are gonna miss some time. So I think Kuminga's gonna be there. I've been holding off on making this video because I don't really know what's going on. I think at this point, I'm pretty confident he's gonna be a Warrior next year. Hopefully I don't look stupid in a couple of days making this video, or a day or an hour, right? We don't know what's gonna happen, but those are my quick little thoughts on Kuminga, and I think this is a great position for him if he locks into it. If the Warriors don't try to do anything funny, like if they just go into it with good faith, trying to be the best team possible, I think Kuminga will play a huge role on this team. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Please like, comment, subscribe. It will mean the world to me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm out. Peace.